right, welcome to the Heroes on the Mat podcast, episode number 1. Today I have Joe, who runs the promotion of Heroes on the Mat, and I have Mike from Alessi Jiu Jitsu in Chatham, New York. Say hello, fellas.
How you doing? Good to be here.
So, Mike, what's your opinion on cops training Jiu Jitsu? Good? Bad?
I think it's good. I think
what do you
they
think?
should train. It's definitely a big part of their job, being able to defend themselves and their partners. I believe that all law enforcement should train to a certain point. It should be a standard. There should be a standard. I'm not the guy to tell you what the standard should be, but there definitely should be a standard.
Yeah. It should be more than just the academy.
I agree.
In my opinion, I think. Yeah. So, Joe, what are your thoughts on that? And not just cops, but just like first responders in general.
100% mandatory, and not just like you said in the academy. There needs to be a standard, and a standard needs to be maintained. You know, everyone's going to be different, but that's the same thing on jiu-jitsu. You're not going to judge, a 22-year-old kid the same as a 44-year-old man, but the basics, that standard needs to be maintained, in my personal opinion, because when you're dealing with safety, not just the safety of officers, but the safety of your partner, the safety of civilians, and let's be honest, sometimes the safety of a person that you're attempting to apprehend or you're defending yourself against, they may not be in the best mental state at that time. They may be on some kind of narcotics or in a mental state, and they're not rational. So, Tim Kennedy said it the best. When you're trained and you're dealing with an untrained person, you're almost like a superhero. And, bringing that person down can be sometimes effortless. And to do it in a safe and professional way is really the route that we need to go, in my personal opinion. So that standard the bar needs to be set, and then it needs to be maintained. It can't be a once a year training. It has to be at least a once every 2-week training, in my personal opinion.
I could tell you firsthand, I took 2.5 years off. I came back and I was shit.
Build their confidence too, just in a
right. Yep.
Absolutely.
Situation, because you experience that in the training room on a daily basis. It definitely helps with confidence in what they're doing.
I agree.
Because if you don't train, just like you said, you took 2.5 years off and you came back, your confidence isn't the same as if you're trained consistently. No,
it was not. It was not good.
No. So that goes back to what I'm saying about that standard need to be maintained. I mean, it's how many times in law enforcement, Dan, have we seen, here's your once a year CPR training. Here's your once a year fire safety training. Here's your, that's not enough when it comes to physical safety and the route that law enforcement is going, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, is professionalism, and it's safety. Okay, it's dangerous out there. We need to protect ourselves. We need to protect our partners, and we need to do our job in the most safe and professional manner possible.
I agree. Now, speaking of the difference between people on the job, whether it's first responders, civilians, and the opinions of, how trained should people be and keeping that training, how did you guys meet? Because Mike, you're not on the job, right?
I'm a railroad guy.
So what's the story? How did you guys meet? How did this start?
It was actually a funny story to begin with. Joe was registered, and I actually called him to see if he was coming. It wasn't going to come. I called him.
Like, who's this getting called?
I wanted to make sure he was coming, because sometimes at that level, guys don't come. If there's nobody there, or there's only one person. So I reached out to him. He was awesome about it. He's like, "Yeah, I'll come," and we had a good time.
Nice, beautiful. And now there's going to be news for June 8th. We'll do that at the end. So if you're watching, something cool is going to happen. We'll leave it at somewhat of a cliffhanger. Just keep watching. I mean, skip to the end if you want, but you're going to miss all the stuff in the middle. So, but
so not too long after that, I believe, is when Mike decided to open his own gym.
Mike, tell me about your gym. So where's it located? What's the mission?
MMA is in Chatham, New York. It's kind of between Hudson and Albany. We've been open since January 1st. We're growing. We're growing pretty good. We're at about 40 members now. We are. I'm personally working on building our law enforcement um, structure. I
Nice.
do have some law enforcement officers that train with us. I have a department that does private lessons with me. So we're growing, and I'm trying to work both angles. You know, the nine
Nice.
to five, the law enforcement and first responder side of it. The kids, obviously, kids are a huge part of the program. But yeah,
Big time, yeah. I got 3. They're all in. Well, the baby's not in jiu-jitsu, but the 2 boys are. She's a year and a half. Give her another 2 years,
yeah,
I'll,
both of my
I'll
kids
throw her
train.
in the mix. But what about? Yeah. Oh, the kids' classes are amazing. Hilarious. What about other first responders in the area for your gym? Not just cops, not just law, like EMS, fire,
Yeah,
stuff like
I
that.
offer
Veteran,
a
military
discount for
veterans.
all first responders. But I have some. I have a paramedic. I don't. You know,
Nice.
people are. Yeah, I have some. I have a scientist. You know, I have people all over the spectrum. You know, all different kinds of careers.
You know, it's funny. I've hopped around a few gyms. Back when I wasn't training as much, I would pop in here and there. You always get like the same quintessential characters at every gym. You get the cop, you get the guy who smokes a lot of weed, you get the guy, you get
Oh
you
God.
get, you get the D1 wrestler,
Yes.
you get the dad bod type people with a bunch of just doing it as a hot. Me too, right? You got the kids, so it's funny because every gym. I feel like so. Maybe talk a little bit about the experience of what is it like when somebody goes to a gym for the first time? Because for my experience, I started training when I was in the NYPD Academy. The only thing that got me to go was a buddy who trained, and he tells me, just go into the gym. You're going to get your ass kicked, but just keep going. He goes, it will get better. He goes, and then you'll get better. And then you realize how much more you have to learn. And then you'll continue to feel like you're getting worse, but it's still going to be fun. He's like, trust me. But my thought process walking in there is I was definitely nervous. Right? So what would be your advice to people who have never walked into a gym before and are about to walk into a gym, or specifically your gym?
I'm a new gym. I've been dealing with that since I opened. You know, most people. I mean, I have some people that came with me from other places, but it's really new people. So I deal with that on a daily recurrence. You know, I actually talked to somebody this morning that never trained, and they're all nervous. You just have to come. You know, the community's great. You know, all my members are awesome. They're helpful. You know, that's a big thing. You know, building a community that's willing to be a part of that, because without that positivity in the room, what do you have? So people are coming there to learn self-defense, but they're also coming there to get out of their daily lives, leave their BS behind.
Yep.
Just enjoy themselves and learn self-defense or whatever their goal is in the end. But you have to build and establish a positive community for that.
Yeah. That time on the mat is the most peaceful
It
time.
is for me too.
For me, you know, and most people wouldn't believe that because they'll see, you know, a practice, but it honestly, it is. It's the time where everything else in your head shuts off and you just focused on one task. Joe, what are your thoughts on people training for stress relief, people training for wellness, and getting over like that nervous hump of just going into a gym and trying a trial class?
Listen, the hardest belt to get is not a black belt; it's a white belt. That's real.
I've never heard that before. That's actually very good.
Hardest belt to get to white belt, because how many people just have that ego that they can't handle, you know, that first day, that first week, because we all went through it. I went through it, you know, coming out of college wrestling. Yeah, okay, I was wrestling, but listen, I was putting myself in triangles like I was doing it on purpose. And, you know, you're going to get checked. You're going to get checked. You're going to get tapped. You're going to get humbled. And it's something that we've all gone through. All black belts and brown belts and purple belts. We've all gone through it. And that's the difference between us and the people that haven't trained or they're apprehensive about that first class. You just got to do it. There's no, I hate to sound like a Nike commercial, but you just got to get out on the mat that first class. And, you know, just, I very rarely have seen people really beat up. Like, I've never seen, honestly, in my life, someone, you know, a trial person, you're going to have guys take you to the side. Oh, first class. Let me show you this.
Yeah.
Let me show you that.
Always.
You know what? Don't do this. Don't do that. And it's jujitsu it's a very, very dangerous sport when you realize that we're basically practicing killing each other. But it's such a friendly sport at the end of the day where, I've trained in boxing gyms, I've trained in Muay Thai gyms, and it's very established on almost I have a hard time saying this word, a hierarchy. People don't really want to talk to you, and who's this guy, and sucking your teeth. When you go into a jiu-jitsu gym, people take you to the side. Hey, let me show you something. Come roll. Let's go light. It's such a great sport in that dynamic. So my advice, if just get out there, take that class, and I'm almost positive you're going to have a great experience.
I completely agree. I like to tell people, especially people who are on the job, I explain it to them and I say, hey, you know that camaraderie you have with your squad or the other guys or girls or whatever it is, like you're going to get that in that gym, regardless of what gym you go to. It doesn't matter. You could pick any gym. It doesn't matter what your personality is like, what your belief system is, what political beliefs, this, that. Like, as long as you continue to go and they see like, oh, this person really wants to learn, they're trying to better themselves, like you will become a part of that community. You'll get that camaraderie. And I mean, for me, I've had it at multiple gyms, at this point. And I really do see the similarity between being on the job, regardless of whatever job it is, law enforcement, EMS, paramedic, former military, whatever. So I think that's a great point. I'm going to shift focus a little bit. Mike, what's your background in jiu-jitsu? So I actually, we didn't even go over this. So the audience might be listening and they might be like, well, what's the background? What's your experience level like? Tell people about like how you got started and where you are now.
MMA in 2007. Which was MMA based training. It wasn't specific to jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or kickboxing. Trained up until about 2012. I actually got in a car accident, dislocated my hip. And when I came back, the end of 2012, 2013, the place I was training at was closed. And that's when I started traditional jiu-jitsu. It was around 2000, end of 2012, beginning of 2013. I've been training consistently since. I'm a brown belt under black hole in Rockingers, Mike Wacker. And now I'm teaching 6 days a week. So I love it. Yeah.
In that grind right there, right?
So I've been teaching for quite a few years. Honestly, I was a purple belt for quite a long time. I switched gyms. When I purple belt, I switched from a gym in Albany to a different gym. And then I ended up with Mike Wacker a few years ago, probably about 2 years ago now.
Yeah. I could tell you from firsthand experience that anybody who teaches jiu-jitsu knows jiu-jitsu way more than somebody who doesn't teach it. Even if it's not in like a classroom setting or something like that. Like it's just,
you can be a really good competitor at a black belt level, and you can be a horrible teacher. Every black belt, purple belt can't teach a room of 9 to 5ers. They can't. But they can compete at a high level.
Right. Yes. 100%.
Well. You put them in a room of a bunch of dad bods and 9 to 5ers and older people that aren't athletic, and they can't teach those kind of people because it's a different level of experience.
Because that's the reality of it, right? If somebody's watching, like for anybody watching right now, if they're trying to get into training, but they might be afraid because I'm out of shape, I can't even run a mile right now. I might does that matter? No. Does that stuff matter?
Just start. You have to just start.
I agree. Let's switch focus a little bit into what do you guys got planned June 8th? What's coming up? What secrets can we announce?
Well, I'm going to let Mike take how we got into this mess here.
Yeah. All right. Let's start from there.
I have a couple law enforcement officers that I sponsor myself, and it's going great. They come to class consistently, and they're they want to learn. One of them's a DT instructor, and I want to add another one, but
nice.
I'm a new gym, and I saw what Joe had built here with this promotion, so I reached out to him looking to see if I could do a match with him, and if there was a way we could promote to sponsor another officer through my gym with me competing with him. I'm at his promotion.
So the idea that we came up with is June 8th, Mike and I are going to face each other. And that night we're going to be doing a 50-50 raffle. Obviously with the proceeds, half of the 50-50 going to Mike in order to sponsor. We're hoping to get enough funds to sponsor at least one law enforcement officer for Alessi BJJ for 1 year. That's the goal. Mike came to me with this proposal and I had to think to myself, well, listen, if I'm really out there trying to do this for law enforcement, how could I say no? So now we're facing each other.
I think it's a great idea. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I love it. So for those who are listening, there's going to be like two types of listeners, right? For anybody who's located in Mike's like geographical area. Mm-hmm. Mike, say that again, where the gym is located for people who might be near you. Okay. So for anybody who's law enforcement and that raffle to sponsor somebody, is that going to be open to what type of careers? Law enforcement, veteran, parent? Like what are your thoughts on
that? That raffle is going to be open to anyone that attends the event. It's going to be your typical 50-50 raffle tickets. Come support a good cause. And like I said, somebody's going to win, take home half the pot, and the rest of that pot is going to Mike and his cause, his gym.
Awesome. Excellent. And we'll definitely put some information out, website, Instagram, as it gets closer to that. But what was your thought process on sponsoring a cop for jiu-jitsu? Or not just a cop, like first responder for jiu-jitsu? Why is it important to you?
My brother's a law enforcement officer, but
okay,
I can see the lack of continuous training, not the lack of training as a whole, but consistently. Like when the first few officers came to my gym, and they have been law enforcement officers for quite some time, and their training wasn't good. And I at that point I was like, I need to do something myself to help these guys get better, because they're out there. Some of these guys are in big agencies like NYPD. They're not in big agencies. Some of these guys are going to be on their own for 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
I'm not
a law enforcement officer. I don't know what they go through, but being alone for that amount of time, do a match for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, wrestling with somebody in the gym, a 6-minute match is a long match. Now you got someone who's
very long match,
drugs or whatever, and they have no self-control.
Yeah.
You're stuck there by yourself. They don't have backup like some departments do. Some of these guys are by themselves. They could have a lapse of 10, 15 minutes before another officer shows up. So that was like, seeing these guys not be able to defend themselves in the gym was concerning to me. So that's when I really started pushing it, and I took one officer on myself, and a couple are discounted or a big discount, so they can come and train and be confident in themselves. Because confidence was a big lack, especially from the DT instructor side. The gentleman lacked some confidence in himself to teach and to just perform.
And I've heard the word a couple of times, confidence. I think Dan mentioned it as well, and I think Mike and Mike. I know you're not law enforcement, or first responder, but Dan, tell me if you agree or disagree. Like going back to the confidence thing, like when you're more confident in your abilities and with the worst case scenarios, I think it makes you able to be that much more professional, because you're not quite as I don't want to say you're not. I'm always cautious, but I don't honestly feel scared, and you always got to be cautious. But when you're not scared, it makes you bring the situation down to a level where I personally feel that you can de-escalate the situation verbally. However, you're still willing and able to defend yourself if this person chooses violence. You always have to be ready, because sometimes they're going to choose violence. They already have their mind made up. But when you're that, like you said, going back to what Mike said about confidence, listen, I'm going to try and de-escalate the situation, okay? Because I don't want violence. However, I still, if need be, can be able to defend myself. And with that, like going back to the confidence part, I agree. It's extremely important. And it's something you're only going to get from time on the mat, consistent time on the mat.
Yeah. I can talk from firsthand experience. When I'm around, like now that I'm out of the NYPD, just to give people a background, I was 4 years NYPD, went to Nassau County. I'm in the squad now. So half my time is at a desk, half the time is out hunting for people. I remember being in the NYPD, having backup like that. Like, Mike, you were saying some of these guys can be by themselves for 10 minutes. That's terrifying if you're not trained. If you're trained, it's still very scary, don't get me wrong. But at least you have that belief in yourself. And not only that, but the people around you, if they know you as the jiu-jitsu guy, the jiu-jitsu girl, whatever, they're more confident and their fear goes down. And maybe somebody doesn't do something stupid, you know, like a coworker or something like that. Maybe they don't start speaking loudly or starting to agitate somebody else because they don't know what else to do, right? Sometimes it's honestly as easy as like hand on a shoulder and just like direct eye contact. And you learn, you like, people would think this is crazy, but you really learn a lot of that stuff like in jiu-jitsu because like you learn to handle yourself. You learn to, like, everybody who's like, anybody who trains and watches this, you'll know the type of people that you roll with. Like, oh, that guy's it's 0 or 100 with that guy. Or like, oh, this guy's like lighter, I can flow with him, you know? And like you learn a lot of that control. And like people who are on the job, whatever job it is, whether it's, you know, cop, correction officer, military, paramedic, EMS, doesn't matter. Like, it's crazy all around the world right now. But for the people that are trained, it's not even just themselves. It's other people that know that they train. They feel more at ease. Like, they feel more comfortable. Like, I've been to plenty of scenes or plenty of things, not to toot my own horn, but they're like, oh, Dan knows jiu-jitsu. Like, oh, if it gets to it, like, hopefully we just get this guy down. And like, I think we'll be all right. So I completely agree with that. And especially for people who are interested in you about to adopt a cop or adopt a first responder or whatever it is, like, the amount of possibilities that it unlocks for somebody once they have consistently trained. And what would you say somebody needs to get to? Like 2-stripe white belt, 4-stripe white belt, blue belt, to like at least feel confident like in the civilian world? What would you be your thoughts on that?
I always say,
I'd like to
I
see
always
blue
say
belt.
blue belt. Just because you get past some of that.
I agree.
Like, back to confidence again. Like, you get past some of that by the time you get to a blue belt. You know.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I always say blue belt. Blue belt's
100%.
like that line where like you've done enough, but you definitely need to keep going.
And the blue belts we have now are different than the blue belts we had when I got mine in 2007. You know,
Well, see, some of these
my
16-year-olds,
God.
they're like, well, they've been
That's a
doing
blue belt. When I only got my blue belt, you just really needed to know how to pass the guard. You needed a couple of submissions off your back. You know, it's wild how much the game has changed. But I'm still going to say
My
blue
son's
belt.
a green belt. He's 15.
I agree.
And boy, he's a tough role. He's 15. Been training since he was 7.
Yeah, the game has definitely changed.
It's different.
Yeah.
For the better, of course.
I love it. Cool. So how do you guys have any other notes or anything for the audience, people who are watching? June 8th, Heroes on the Mat. There's going to be that raffle. You guys are going to compete together. I think it's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really cool. Anything else before we leave off with it?
I just wanted to touch in on how 2 things, that we have a lot of out-of-state guys on this one, and that we opened up to military for the first time.
So a lot of Jersey, right?
Yeah, we have, I'd say, at least half of the card right now is coming from New Jersey. It's the Jersey invasion. We also have 2 coming from Massachusetts. I have 1 hopeful looking for a match from Canada. So this is something that is, I know I said it before, but it's opening up, not just in New York, but New Jersey, Massachusetts, like I said. We had a competitor from Delaware on our last event, who unfortunately had to work. He was interested. But like I said, this is something that, God willing, it's going to grow, and it's going to be a big thing, and it's going to raise the message.
I mean, it's already a big thing.
Yeah.
If people weren't at the last one, Mulcahy's was packed.
It was a show. For those of you guys, that weren't at the last one, I know, Mike, you weren't there, but for those willing to show, it's not your average jiu-jitsu tournament. It's a real card. It's a real event, and it was like Dan said, it was a good time. It was a good night. Even if you
I had a blast.
Yeah.
And even for So for people who are thinking about signing up, you said military. You're
Yes.
intersecting now. Does that have to be active or?
No, you don't have to be active. For the first time, we are opening the event up to military, active and not. I had a ton of guys at the last time say, "Hey, you open the military," and I felt awful, turned them away. So I said, "You know what? I had so many guys. I'm missing out on so many matches." I said, "You know what? Let's do it." So, like I said, you're going to see a couple of Marines on this card. I believe we have a Navy SEAL. So
That's
law enforcement, first responders, and military, and Mike.
And for people who want to sign up, who might be on the fence about it, I could tell you, win or lose, it doesn't matter. Because I competed at the last one. I lost, and I had a great time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even matter. Like, there's no talk about like what the event's gonna be like. Talk a little bit about that for people who may be watching and like how the experience is, just so they get an idea behind
Well,
it.
first and foremost, I match up everyone as evenly as possible. It's not easy. I try and do it by competition experience. I have Sunder Singh on this card, who is an amateur MMA fighter. I don't know if he turned pro. I don't think he turned pro yet. He might have. So if he did,
I think I remember seeing his Instagram.
yeah. So if he is professional, I apologize, but he's a very high level MMA fighter. So I have him matched up with another high level competitor. I'm coming down from Massachusetts, and then I have a couple of beginners on the card. I have them matched up with each other. I have guys that have never competed each other facing guys that never competed. I'm not throwing anyone to the wolves, So again, this is for a good cause. I'm trying to get law enforcement, first responders, military active in competing. So I'm not looking to, like I said, throw anyone out there, throw anyone to the wolves. And it's a great experience. Coaches, we had Matt Serra, Ally Quinta.
Quinta was there.
We had Soka at the last event. We had a lot of who's who there. And I'm expecting the same thing at this event.
Yeah. So for anybody watching, that's going to be June 8th, Mulcahy's.
Absolutely. Mulcahy's. It's a beautiful venue. They put on a great show, and we're going to rock the house again.
It's going to be awesome. Mike, what are your thoughts on the event? Heroes on the Mat. What do you think of the idea?
It's a great platform for guys to get experience. Like Joe said, most of these guys match evenly, and it's within their community, which is awesome. As a law enforcement first responder, it's cool that it's within their community. Hopefully, nobody wants to take me out.
And guys, while we're here, plug your Instagrams, your websites. So, Joe, the Instagram is Heroes on the Mat, right? For the profile.
Heroes on the Mat is the Instagram. We also have a website, Heroes on the Mat. Got a little bit of gear on there.
Beautiful. Mike, what about yours for your gym?
MMA for Facebook and Instagram.
Beautiful. And we're going to link it in the show notes. So if anybody just wants to click the link down below, it'll go straight to the app. It'll open up the app to all the profiles, to Mike's gym. But any other thing for the audience, guys, while we're here, before we wrap it up?
Hey, listen, we're still open to competitors. We're a little less than 2 months out. So if you want to get on the card, it's not too late. You can either hit me up on Instagram, Heroes on the Mat, or on the website.
Beautiful. Awesome. Mike,
and this membership that we're working for doesn't have to be, I'm going to be looking for somebody to come in and take this membership. So if you're interested and you're kind of local to me and you want to train with us, you can reach out. I don't know what we'll end up with at the end, but whatever it is, we're going to do something with it. If you're interested in that membership, you can reach out, send me a message. This isn't locked into anybody specific. This is open. Me and Joe will talk about it when we're done. What kind of first responder that he thinks is best, that I think is best, and we'll go from there once we have this.
And then June 8th, Heroes on the Mat at Mulcahy's. It's going to be a good time.